Hey, RJ Helms here, back with another episode of Let's Play OpenTTD. So just to recap, in the last episode we built another spur line off going from our HGH station over here down by way of this town, which the station doesn't actually service the town, so it's all connected by a feeder route, and over to these three towns here, which are served by bus connections to this NKW station. And if you recall, we started to have a problem in the last episode that we had a bit of a cash crunch. Money's still coming in. It was right around zero when I started this episode, so just while I've been talking, we've pulled in $25,000, and that's great. But if we look at our cash flow, you can see basically what the problem is. That in the last couple years, our income has been more or less constant, but our expenses have gone up as we've been growing. And that's because while we are adding more and more stations and more service, we haven't really expanded the capacity that we need to really maximize our revenue. And so that's what I'm going to focus on to begin with in this episode, is just finding some trouble spots or some places where we can have more vehicles to actually pull revenue out of the capacity that we have, so that we're in a better position to keep growing. There's a couple ways I'm going to do this. The first one, of course, is looking at these the cargo flow legend in places that are over capacity, because those are, of course, good candidates for places to add more service. The other thing I'm going to look at is actually which routes are pulling in all the money. If I sort, for example, by profit last year descending, I can see, for example, that my NDS route are my most profitable buses. They tend to be pulling in about £6,000 a year, whereas if I go down to some of the other routes, some of these are actually showing a loss. This isn't a perfect calculation because of the way that cargo calculations work, or transfer calculations, because what happens is, say there's a passenger that's at this station and wants to get on this plane here to travel to ABG, take a train to TBH, a train to HGH, a train to MBG, and then a train to ISK. All these other trains or vehicles will rack up transfer credits, which you can see when something stops. I'm not sure if we'll actually be able to see it. We can see when a train stops in a station. Yeah, so just there, these vehicles got transfer credits, and that's because they took up some passengers part of the way they wanted to go. And then the vehicle that goes to the very end gets the full value, but then that full value can actually be less than all of the transfer payments that have worked up to that time. And so vehicles can show a loss even though they're actually creating revenue. So that can be a little bit misleading. It's kind of tricky to make sense of it, especially because when you go to your finances, these numbers are calculated at the very last stage of the route, I believe. So, for example, I can see that my road vehicle so far in 1970 made £350,000. That seems very unlikely, but that's because a lot of those routes are routes that also involve planes and trains. But it's still a good heuristic. I mean, vehicles that are making a lot of money are obviously quite valuable. I can do the same thing with my profit last year. So I can see that the ABG to EDG route is the one that seems to be the most profitable. The HGH to NKW route here is new enough that that number from last year doesn't really count. I'm not going to worry about airplanes. These planes are pulling in some amount of money. And the other thing I want to look at, the final heuristic, is actually my station ratings. I'm going to sort by lowest cargo rating because I suspect, if I look at MBG here, some of these stations are going to actually have very low cargo ratings. Sorry, I sorted the wrong way. HGHE here is going to have a very low cargo rating. Yes, it's atrocious, 1%. That's because I'm not nearly servicing it enough. And that can be a problem because that means I'm actually only getting 1% of the passengers that want to take this, when I would visit this potentially. So if I see here I'm getting 29 passengers a month, theoretically if my station rating was 1,000, that means I could get I guess a couple thousand. It doesn't work quite that simply, but that's the rough idea. And you can see here you'll get some cases where, so here for example, these are showing that it's actually right at capacity, but these station ratings are so low that I'm not actually getting as many passengers as I could. If I could get this rating higher, I would actually probably see more passengers showing up, so it might actually show up as under capacity once I get more vehicles on the route somewhat counterintuitively. And there's a number of things that go into calculating station ratings, which I'm not going to get into in too much detail. But so those are going to be the three things I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to add more vehicles to my routes that are profitable. I'm going to try to improve my station ratings. And I'm going to try to improve my my overall cargo flow map. So first things first, let's look at local NDS. I believe this is a case where my station ratings are actually pretty low as well. Yeah, they're all rather low. Let's go to the local NDS group. And are these all newish vehicle types? Yeah, they're all the Hereford double-decker buses. So let's put as many of these as we can afford on the route. So where's my depot here? Oh, there she is. So let's put 3 more on here. And get them started. I am seeing some vehicles start to bunch up here, but we can deal with that by actually adding some extra stations to have them come in parallel. I'm not going to worry about that right this second. So next is local ABG. This guy's actually still old for some reason. There's a couple that are still outstanding. That's fine. So there's ABG here, and how are my station ratings in these two? Poor and good. So let's add 2 more vehicles to this route if I can afford it. I don't know if I actually have the right vehicle. I do want these to be the new kind. There's the Hereford, so you're actually going to get sold. Are either of you the new kind of vehicle? No. So I'll just buy one. Passenger vehicle by cargo capacity. Alright, so I have the order already in there. Actually, maybe that already put it in a group. Yes, it did. Perfect. And that's because this vehicle existed, so I deleted it, so it was handling it as a replacement form. We've seen that in other episodes as well. It's kind of a handy feature. So same thing with the timetable. And the reason why these probably haven't replaced is because there is an auto-renew limit in the settings. Auto-renew minimum money needed for renew of £100,000. So that means that any of these auto orders won't actually take place until I've got £100,000 in the bank, which I obviously do not right now. So I've done NDS, I've done ABG, TBH is the next one. And this is actually, how are my ratings doing? Also poor, so this could definitely use more vehicles. And I can see here, understandably, these people are piling up by the thousands. So let's get, let's say 3 more on this route. Go to KCR to NDS. This is getting kind of crowded, so let's... How are my ratings here? Mediocre, so I was going to put 1 more vehicle on this route. And I believe there's a faster bus here as well, because this one's up for renewal. Let's look at maximum speed. Yes, there is the Senior Cruiser bus. So you're going to share orders, and you're going to go into the KCR to NDS group, and get timetabled. It did remind me there's one thing I wanted to do with this, was actually rename this local group something like ZZ Local, just so that it appears below all my intercity routes. So these vehicles are good candidates. Just the reason I'm looking at bus vehicles is because the return on them is excellent. A vehicle is a couple $1,000 and will totally pay off its initial purchase expense in a year or two. So local MLB is the next candidate. Unsurprisingly, this vehicle, or this route, needs a lot more vehicles. So my safety rating is very good down here, down to very poor over here. I suspect it's also pretty bad in between. And that makes sense because this is a feeder system, so the majority of the traffic from any of these stations is going to want to go all the way down or come all the way down to this MLB here. So let's get 3 more on this route as well. So that was MLB, EDG is over here. And how are these vehicles? These look like the Herefords, yep. So here it's all a matter of low station ratings, so well, it's actually good. EDGC. So all the vehicles waiting here are people waiting to leave. So I'm going to put 1 more on this, but it does feel like what this town actually needs to thrive as far as my service goes, apart from a couple thousand more pounds, is actually going to be more train service, not more vehicle service, or not more road vehicle service. So when that train stops, I should have the money to buy the vehicle. Yeah, so I'm just going to do 1 more here. Get that started. That was down at EDG. How is this one? This is DHFC to LSG. And that seems like a very good candidate as well. It's showing up as overcapacity. I only have 1 vehicle on the route, so this looks like a great candidate. So once again, I'm going to buy a new vehicle. I'll put 2 on this route and start the timetables on them. So these are going to be 50% faster than the other one, so they will run early, but that's fine. And then WMM is the next town that seems to want some. That's over here. So I'm skeptical, but 1 vehicle here could probably boost the station ratings at the very least, which is not a terrible fate. MLB TBH I don't think we've done, so let's go over here. Oh, we did do TBH already, didn't we? Well, I can see by going to the local TBH. Yeah, so I did buy vehicles this year. So I should have enough money with the loan that I've got remaining. Oh yeah, my maximum loan just increased as well. So I got enough money to put some more trains on, so let's look at that. So profit last year, the best one actually is the HGH to TBH line. So that sounds just fine to me. So I'm just going to put 1 more vehicle on this route, 1 more train. And do the same thing on the ABG to EDG route. That is the next most profitable route. It's actually quite a ways behind, which is interesting. But we can see, of course, it also wants more capacity every way along the road. So clone that one to make train 12. And get that guy on the road. I'm not worrying about airplanes just because I would have to expand the station to do that airport. And the better airport doesn't exist yet. I think in the new GRF, there actually is a setting to make the times that airports appear more realistic for this this GRF set, but I didn't install that. And I don't think I can now. So not install it, just configure it. We can see that most of the traffic here actually does want to go down this route, not up to the other two stations. Actually, that's interesting. The majority, or the largest single group of passengers here wants to go to NKWC, which is all the way over here. I was suspicious about this. This is actually showing as white, which is not utilized at all. That doesn't quite seem sensible to me. Just by virtue of the fact that, like, where are all these passengers coming from? I'm not really going to worry about it at this point. It doesn't seem like the best use of my money. Yeah, let's put one more bus on it. You can see that there's some improvement. I believe this has gotten a bit better. Some chunks of this route are getting a bit better. So let's wait for this year end to end and see how we did. Obviously, we're going to show a bit of a loss because we did spend £230,000 on new vehicles. But our actual operating revenue improved greatly, and that's very good news. If we hadn't spent that money, we would have made about £200,000, which is double what we pulled in 1970. Which is getting us into pretty good shape. So let's see how we are for buses. I mean, there's something to be said for just having £100,000 in the bank, just to maximize, get some auto renewals happening. But it looks like ISK to NKW was the most profitable bus route last year, and it looks like I could use some more buses. So I'm going to put 2 more on that route. I accidentally hit my Windows key there, so instead of control, I'm not sure if that screwed up the recording. It means that these guys didn't get shared orders. There we go. Problem solved. PMW is in second place. is that? That is this little route. Okay. And I didn't beef that up in 1970, so... or 1971. So let's get a couple more in here. 3 feels like a lot, but... I think we'll manage. So some of these towns are actually growing enough too that it might be worthwhile to start considering adding some more coverage. Like here, for example, I'm only covering, if we look at our station radius, a pretty small amount of the town. So this could actually be considerably refactored. WMM is still in good shape. I was skeptical of that last time, wasn't I? My rating has improved greatly, so I'm actually not gonna add more to that. But ABG is next. Profit. Ratings are good and mediocre. I think if I look at the station, the waiting cargo problem is not going to be because of local service. No, it's not. I might actually just wait and add another train to the best place and probably cap it there. We've played for a couple of in-game years. We're doing pretty good, so let's look at our most profitable train. It's still HGH to TBH. And the new one did pretty well last year, so let's get one more of those. It's still showing as in demand. So we got that guy started in early April. And I should probably just leave things here for a bit. So I'm going to end the episode here. I might play for a bit longer and just try to keep doing this same process until I'm up and actually I'm able to practically get over $100,000, £100,000 I should say, in the bank. Just so that we look at these old vehicles. Some of these guys that are expired can get flushed out of the system. And then I'll be back in the next episode. We can see how our improvements have made, if we're actually consistently operating a bit more in the black because of that expansion, and we can look at make some more improvements. I think the next improvements that I'm going to want to make is probably an express route to supplement this one, just because I think we won't actually realistically able to get full service stopping at every single one of these towns. So I think if I built another line parallel to this one that just ducked in at the 2 endpoints and at TBH, that just ducked in at TBH, that could and back up here, that could speed up a lot of the capacity or boost the capacity quite a bit. And the next thing to do as well, which might actually be a first priority above that, is to pull this line out to its logical endpoint, which I think is going to be a railroad station here at Vilsford with another bus connection. But we'll deal with that in the next episode. Until then, thanks so much for watching. As always, please feel free to leave some comments or questions or suggestions for things you'd like to see down below. And if you want more, you are always more than welcome to, and in fact encouraged, to like this video and to subscribe to my channel. Thanks so much for watching. I've been RJ Helms, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you.